Okay, we'll look at your language arts review sheet. Um, it says write a summary of the passage on the front page. For full credit, you must have a clear introduction, 3 supporting details, and a concluding sentence. It says your summary will not be pre-checked. So we're going to go through the summary. We've had these on the last couple of review sheets. Kind of going to walk you through the first part of your summary, and then I'm going to have you finish the remainder of it. If you have not read this passage yet, hopefully you have. If you have not, pause this video and go ahead and read it one time through so you're familiar with it. I am not going to read the entire article through. I'm going to read a couple paragraphs as I go through the summary. So we'll get started. So in my summary, I know I need a clear introduction, which is kind of like the main idea of this passage. So I'm going to go to my first paragraph because that's usually where we're introduced to what we are going to be reading about. So the title is all about prairies. It says a prairie is a large area of grassland. One of the most traveled prairies was located in the middle of the United States. During the 1800s, pioneers moved across this prairie hoping to start a new and better life in the West. In many ways, the prairie was perfect for traveling. The land was flat and full of grass. Whether at rest or on the move, people could see for miles. Traveling in a covered wagon, this allowed them to look for any signs of danger, which were common. Okay, I'm going to stop there, and I want to ask myself, what in there basically tells me what is the main idea of this, not only this paragraph, but this passage. And I'm going to go to the, looks like the third sentence here. It says, during the 1800s, pioneers moved across this prairie hoping to start a new and better life in the West. Okay, so that's basically what's telling me what the main idea of this passage is about. So one of the important parts of the summary is that we cannot just go to the passage and just copy it word for word from the text. We cannot do that. We have to put it into our own words. So that's what I'm going to do for my first sentence of my summary. So I'm going to start mine by saying during the 1800s, pioneers moved west across prairies to start a new life. Okay? And notice I have the same idea, but I did not just copy it word for word. Okay? During the 1800s, pioneers moved west across prairies to start a new life. So that is my introduction or introductory sentence. Now, for the remaining part of my summary, what I want to do is I want to look at each paragraph, and I just want to pull out the main idea of each paragraph. And each one will be a sentence, and then when I'm finished, I'll have a good summary. So I'm going to stay in that first paragraph, and I'm going to start in the middle again where it says in many ways. So in many ways, the prairie was perfect for traveling. The land was flat and full of grass. Whether at rest or on the move, people could see for miles. Traveling in a covered wagon, this allowed them to look for any signs of danger, which were common. Okay, again, so I'm going to take what I just read, and I want to pull out the most important part of what I just read, the main idea. Okay? So what I'm going to say is, I'm going to say the prairies I left my I out there. There should be an I in there. The prairies were flat and good for traveling. Period. Okay? So the prairies were flat and good for traveling. So I kind of covered what was important in that last part where I had just read. So now I'm going to go to the next paragraph. Okay? It says there were many concerns travelers faced. Tornadoes occasionally touch down on the plains. Oftentimes, thieves would prey on innocent travelers. Wolves and other wild animals were also a concern. Sometimes the pioneers and Native Americans clashed. So again, I want to ask myself, what is the main part of that I can pull out, the main idea of that paragraph I can pull out for the next sentence of my summary? Okay, and what I can do, I can combine parts of that paragraph. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say pioneers faced dangers such as tornadoes, comma, thieves, and it also talked about animals. So I'm going to say and wild animals. Period. Okay, so pioneers faced dangers such as tornadoes, thieves, and wild animals. Okay, so I have done the first two paragraphs. What you will need to do for the remaining part of this summary is you will need to read the next paragraph, okay, which talks about the animal life during that time. And again, pick the main part. So, for example, in this paragraph, I'll read it. It says, "Animal life during the 1800s was different on the prairie. Prairie dogs, small animals similar to gophers, dotted the prairie. Thousands of buffalo roamed the grasslands freely. When the buffaloes stampeded, they could hear for miles." So, for example, I would not say, my next sentence would not be buffaloes could be heard for miles. That wouldn't be the main idea of that paragraph. Okay, you want to pick the main part. So keep that in mind as you're writing it. Don't just try to rush through it and get anything down. Think, what is the main part of that? And you can combine things like I did in the previous sentence where I put tornadoes, comma, thieves, comma, and wild animals. You can do it like that as well, but don't just put something down to have a sentence. Okay, so you're going to read what I just read. Read it over again, pick the main idea out of that paragraph, and write that as your next sentence. So your next sentence should be the main idea of paragraph 3. Okay? And then you're going to read the last paragraph. Okay? So it's kind of a bigger paragraph, so you may want to have a detail and then have your closing. So then your next sentence after that will come from paragraph 4. Again, pulling out the main idea. Pulling out the main idea. Okay? And then have a closing sentence. All right, so got you started with the summary. Again, as you're reading, just pull out the main idea of the paragraph that you're reading. Add that to the summary. So in the end, once you're finished, you will have a good summary of this passage. If you finish it, you can bring it in. I'll check it, do a pre-check, and then give it back to you if you need to make any changes. All right? Good luck.